All right, so I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen. Welcome. I'm Cody Horton. I'm the Managing Director for Diverse Recruiting Experts. I'm thrilled to have my guest, Julie Sowash, with us today. She's a recognized speaker, a leader in disability and veteran hiring, and she's going to share some amazing information with us today to help move your inclusion practices forward. So Julie, I wanted to just kick it over to you and let you talk a little bit about your background and some of the great stuff that you're involved in.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you to everyone for coming during what I know is getting to be a busy pre-holiday week. My name is Julie Sowash. I am the co-host of a podcast called Crazy and the King with my good friend Torrin Ellis, who is a D&I kind of rock star that you all probably know. I am also the executive director of a nonprofit called Disability Solutions, and we're really like a niche RPO for disability and disabled veteran recruiting. And so we work with about 30 clients or 30 companies to help them build employer brand, build strategy, build process within the hiring systems to help people with disabilities get through. And one of our first companies that we work with, Pepsi, was actually just awarded the Excellence in Disability Inclusion Award from the Department of Labor. So we're really, really proud of that. And they've hired about 2,000 people with disabilities through the program we built with them called Pepsi Act. And I also, two other things I don't even think I put on my new bio, I also lead our diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging work for our parent company, which is a large nonprofit based out of New York and Connecticut. And I am a person with a disability. I have lived with mental illness, multiple mental illnesses, since kind of first diagnosis was late teens, early 20s. Really finally got that right and got stable in my early 30s, and have been lucky enough to have amazing employers and support systems that help me recognize what stable looks like. And now I get to pay that forward by working with really fantastic companies and people around the world to help them understand how to integrate talent with people with disabilities into their workforce.
Well, it's amazing to have you here. I really appreciate your authenticity and just sharing that with us. I think your message and what you're going to share with us is going to help a lot of people take that step to really do some things that really are where they're contributing, and it may be something that helps them personally. You know, this community is a community that you can enter at any point in your life, and with so much happening this year, I'm glad to see that companies are really refocusing their concentration on creating that inclusive workforce. A lot of energy in the race, gender, orientation. One of the areas that I think companies are lacking in and need more guidance in is the area of disability. And you've talked about the intersectionality of people with disabilities and other areas. What does the disability landscape look like in the US and maybe around the world?
It's a great question. So actually, disability is the largest diversity group on the planet. And it's also the largest diversity group in the United States. About 61 million Americans have a disability. That number is actually larger because we have people who don't yet recognize themselves as people with disabilities. And the really, I think, powerful thing that I have been focused on for the last year to year and a half are the intersections within disability, right? So we know that as a white woman with a disability, my journey is a lot different than a Black woman with a physical disability. And so African Americans, Hispanic Americans, Native Americans all have slightly higher incidences of disability. And they also have disproportionate access to healthcare, especially around mental health. Women are more likely to have a disability than a man. And by the time women are 50, about half of us will have a diagnosed disability A lot of those will be mental health related. And mental health, just as a side, because that's such a huge conversation that we're having right now, there's about 45 million Americans every year who have episodic or chronic, like I do, so lifelong mental health disabilities. And we know that the pandemic has actually driven that number even up. And so when you think about disability, really it's usually based around your experience, right? So if you know someone who has a disability, or like we were talking with Justy before, and he knows some ASL, so he has some friends who are deaf, and that's your experience. And it's really hard to kind of understand the vastness of the community and the diversity within the community, because we are predisposed to think about what our experience has already been, good, bad, or indifferent, and even how people with disabilities are portrayed or not portrayed in our media. So we're a big, big community. You can join us anytime. You're always welcome. And we are very, very intersectional. And we have such an opportunity as a community right now to really understand how to support those intersections and how to grow opportunity for people within different communities that are also a part of ours.